Welcome to the party. I'm Sam Ekstrom of Locked On Sports Minnesota. The Vikings have their left guard. It's Dalton Risner. It's like he never left.
I'm Luke Braun of Locked On Vikings, and it maybe kind of is because I don't know if he's starting.
Hey, this is Arif Hasan from the Wide Left Substack. The Timberwolves have never disappointed us, so I'm very excited for tonight.
Luke Inman at Luke_Spinman. Glad to be back in the country in time to see the Wolves in 6. Anything's possible.
Think 7.
Well,
that's not possible.
Debatable. We don't know that for sure.
Locked On Sports Minnesota Podcasts. It's endless Minnesota Vikings talk with the diverse voices of your local experts. It's time for the Minnesota Football Party. It's your guys hanging out talking next level Vikings football. So join in with Arif Hasan, Locked On Vikings Luke Braun, Superior Sports Talks Luke Inman, and Vikings insider Sam Ekstrom, plus the biggest names in Minnesota football for the Minnesota Football Party. And it starts now.
What is up, everybody? Welcome into the Minnesota Football Party on Locked On Sports Minnesota. The full crew is here today. Very excited for that, and lots to talk about with the Dalton Risner signing. We're going to compare Justin Jefferson and Anthony Edwards. We're going to bring in Ron Johnson, and we will comp the 2024 Vikings to a couple other teams in the last 15 years. Love taking trips down memory lane. But we are brought to you today first by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Thank you so much for watching us live on Locked On Sports Minnesota. Please subscribe so you get notified when we go live on this show, on our other daily shows, and our postcasts, including after the Timberwolves Game 5 tonight with Luke Inman and Wolves experts. Arif Hasan with us, Luke Braun with us as well. The fearsome foursome back in the saddle. Luke Inman, how the heck you been?
I've been great, Sam. You know, had a great trip across the seas, got to go to Nice, France. We didn't even realize the Cannes Film Festival was going on over there while we were over there. So that was great. Went to Florence, Italy. So that was really cool. Glad to be back with you guys, though. I'm not sure exactly what I missed. I know I missed a couple Wolves games while I was over there, but glad to be back in time for Game 5 tonight.
What was the most eventful thing, Arif? Because I think Arif's been here every step of the way. Luke Braun had a honeymoon, so he was gone for some. What did they miss, really? I mean, ultimately, was anything eventful?
I mean, we had some camp reports on J.J. McCarthy. That was pretty exciting. You know, he has a strong arm, so that's good. It's good to get that confirmed by beat reporters. Other than that, I don't know that a lot happened. Missed a couple of NBA games, I guess.
Right.
Ron called in from his car last week. I mean, that's always good.
Good.
Man, I can't think of anything
it was
else.
a 7-hour difference over there. So as much as we wanted to try to find a restaurant or a bar that had an NBA channel, which we did end up finding, it showed the replay in the morning. 7-hour difference. Nothing was going to be open at 3 a.m. over there. So first thing every morning we were checking the scores, ESPN app, seeing if they won or not. But yeah, sounds like that was the time. If you were going to go on a big trip, that was the time to go do it.
Did they have like a French Kevin Harlan doing the call?
I
like,
wish.
Sacre bleu, Anthony Edwards.
Cordon bleu. No, nothing like that, man. But I actually did see some Wolves. What did I say? I saw a Phoenix Suns jersey over there. I think it wasn't Devin Booker or KD. So I can't remember exactly what it was, but a couple more NBA fans over there than I expected.
Wait, hold on. No Rudy Gobert jerseys? What is
Not
this?
one. I couldn't find it. I kept making a joke about hey, we're going to go try to find the birthplace of Rudy Gobert, see where it all started. And nobody picked up on the reference. Nobody knew what was going on.
It's all Wemby, though.
It's all Wemby over there.
They moved on to Wemby.
You're right. Yeah.
Macho Meach has been begging for me to play the buzzer for weeks now.
Yeah.
I'm going to indulge him.
But that's not...
Is that the sound? Is that what he wants?
I don't think that's the
That's
sound.
how Macho Meach deserves.
I hit the wrong button.
No, you didn't.
Start over. Rewind.
Take
Macho Meach has been begging for me to play the button for like 10 shows in a row. Here we go.
There it is.
Dalton
All right.
Risner has come to terms with the Minnesota Vikings for a second consecutive year. It took a while. We gave up on it. We thought he was a problem in the locker room. Maybe he still is. I don't know. But he is going to be competing at left guard with Blake Brandel, who, Arif, he thought he was free and clear. Blake Brandel was resting easily at night. He was sleeping well. He was uncontested at OTAs. Nobody rotating in with him. And now, this is why no one likes Dalton Risner, apparently, because he always comes in late and he messes with the depth chart. Yeah, he upset
missed a couple of skipped
things.
some OTAs, didn't have to put in the work everybody else did.
That's the life.
Yeah, he's carving it.
I mean, how unsafe is Blake Brandel's? Because Luke Braun kind of referenced this in the intro, but like Andrew Kramer said, like at OTAs, that like Blake Brandel was like he's just starting. There hasn't been rotation yet, and the expectation, evidently, is that Blake Brandel is just going to keep starting at left guard. Like, of course, there's probably going to be a competition there, but we're not going to get to anything competitive until pads come on either way. So for now, all the chemistry is being developed with Blake and not with Dalton. Not that I guess you have to do much because he was there last year, but still, I mean, it would be nice for Dalton Risner to get an offseason as the starting left guard if he's going to be the starting left guard.
That's the question, because his contract has incentives in it for not only like starting a certain amount of games, which I'm going to guess is based on how many games he started last year, so they could have like not likely to be earned incentives, but also just making the 53, which implies that they are not 100% sure that he will make the 53, which is kind of crazy to me. But I guess that's how the roster is. Would that count as a not likely to be earned incentive because he wasn't on the week 1 roster last year?
So I'm going to guess that that's probably a not likely to be earned incentive. I will also add that this could very well be a situation where he gets cut and then gets added back to the roster right before week 1. That happened to the Vikings.
Week 1? Do like the week 2 weird thing? Yeah.
That's happened a couple of times with offensive linemen. Like, who was that center from the Giants the Vikings had from
Brett
Canada?
Jones.
Brett Jones.
Yeah. That happened to him
6th round pick. Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Can I tell a Brett Jones story? Arif,
Absolutely.
you'll remember this. You'll remember this. So 2017, this is Brett Jones we're talking about. He did nothing for the Vikings. He did a little bit for the Giants. This is as
he was a
benign,
banal. Sometimes
I liked him.
No, I'm not ripping Brett Jones. This is just funny.
Sounds like you
bear
are.
with me. He's as banal a player as you can imagine. I mean, he's milquetoast. He's an interior offensive lineman. Canada sent a film crew for an indie documentary on Brett Jones.
Let's
and
go.
And they documented his 2017 season, which, if you remember, was ended due to injury. So the documentary comes out and they're building up the drama of the Minneapolis Miracle. Like, they're showing all this action on the field, cutting
he's in
back
the
and
suite.
forth. They're cutting back and forth to Brett Jones, like in a cast, in a boot, as this is unfolding, and they're playing it up as if he was a big part of it. Hilarious comedy.
Well, okay, but also, like, Brett Jones was not the best player from his university in the NFL. That was Akeem Hicks. Like, that's great.
Wow.
They had some battles.
Wow, good.
They had some battles at
so
Canada
he's like the Ryan Reynolds of Canada.
Regina.
Is that what you're saying?
It was
Reynolds
Regina University, not Canada University.
Canada University.
Canada University.
I'm pretty sure it's Canada University. I'm sorry, the University of Canada.
Right.
Apologize.
Circling back just real quick, phenomenal story per usual, Sam, though. Again, being gone a couple weeks, depth chart wise, again, before this Risner signing, it's been all Blake Brandel simply because, like, by default, there is nobody else back there, right? I know they brought in the rookie class now. who else is back there? Feeney, I guess. I don't know what.
He's got like 4 years of starting experience.
Did we think Dan Feeney really though?
No, that's what I'm saying.
We didn't think.
We thought he would compete, but I didn't know he would win.
Had he rotated in, it wouldn't have shocked any of us, I guess, is the closest.
Yeah, sure. I guess my question was,
there's one guy on that the Vikings added before Risner that had starting experience, and it was Feeney, and some of that was at center and stuff. But like,
hey, who knows? Maybe Michael Juergens just takes the job. Who's to say?
Hey, dude, who knows? We've
Luke,
seen weirder
what was
things.
Your question?
Well, I was just going to say, it was the vibe around town that he outright had won this starting left guard job at the time before they signed Dalton Risner, or what did it feel like? He's just plugged in there by default because he's been here the last couple of years, and there's just really look around before the rookie class and Risner showed up. There's not a lot of bodies.
They were pushing it. They were pushing it.
Okay.
Like they were saying, like, we're excited about this guy, and this is the opportunity that he's earned.
You know, I will say too, every time this guy gets brought up or a question's asked, and obviously take this with a grain of salt, but even without being prompted, the coaches have gone up to the podium, not just this offseason, but last offseason as well. They always speak very highly about this guy. And again, I get it. Take it with a grain of salt. It's not like they're going to get up there and talk poorly about any player, but I have taken notice. He seems to get brought up maybe a little bit more now because he is in this, the starting mix here now with this group. But it really does feel like he's in the good graces with these coaches. And I think they want him to kind of take that proverbial next leap here this year and go win this starting job. And if he doesn't, just in case, we got Dalton Risner waiting in the wings.
And if he doesn't this year, there's always a next year because Risner's got a 1-year deal. Brandel is a 3-year deal. So he could be a in and out of being a starter for the next 3 years at really good value as well. Go ahead, Luke.
And at the end of the day, if anybody is just like super worried about Brandel and just like doesn't think this guy should play and thinks it's just such a no-brainer that Risner should definitely get in, great news. The setup is there for that to absolutely happen if it's that obvious and there's nowhere to hide in camp. So you can kind of that process will reveal all. And if Risner does indeed deserve to start super obviously over Brandel, that'll just happen.
Trickle-down effect depth-wise. Now you have Darrisaw, Risner, Bradbury, Ingram, O'Neal with primary depth of Brandel, Feeney, Quessenberry. So now you've got 3 veterans as your top 3 backups with probably 2 roster spots for Juergens and Rouse, I would guess. That's probably
I'm guessing one of the two.
Probably one of the two.
Juergens and Feeney are fighting over one spot.
Yeah, it could obviously be a 10-person depth chart, but it's very often a 9-person depth chart. Either way, obviously, because of expanded practice squads, it's not going to matter too much. But yeah, I think that this is like an interesting situation where it's like I'm not particularly satisfied with the resolution of the left guard position. I'm not fully convinced at what's happening at right guard. I, of course, remain skeptical of Garrett Bradbury. But the depth is pretty good, which is like kind of an interesting spot where I kind of like the depth, even if I don't like what's happening with the starting spots. And when I say I don't like what's happening with the starting spots, it's more I'm very uncertain about how good that group is going to be, less than I am like concerned that they're going to be bad, if that makes sense. Like,
how about we satisfy everybody and have Brandel compete with Ingram and give Risner the left guard spot?
I was gonna say it feels like
Risner that good. Like I feel like I thought he did
I think
fine.
because people were really excited about him coming in the middle of the season, and then he did, and then people just like kind of latched on. But like there were definitely games where Brandel and Risner were on the field, and Brandel outplayed him. Like I'm pretty comfortable saying that.
Brandel outplayed Risner, you're saying, right?
Yeah, just next to each other at right and left guard.
Yep.
Yeah. So the thing is, I generally think Risner's a better player for the most part. I also think that the way that the Vikings run their offense, that Brandel's a better fit, just because of how what they ask those interior offensive linemen to do, like athletically. And Risner tested well, but you watch him move on the field and it's just not the same. He doesn't move very well at all. And so like I think that Brandel might be a better fit for what the Vikings want to do, and so overall would be a better player at that spot, or could at least the coaches might think be a better player at that spot. But I don't know that Risner is necessarily like great for the Vikings. I mean, honestly, they could have avoided all this by never trading away Ezra Cleveland. But yeah, we are where we are.
Yeah,
and they would have had to like extend him and pay him too.
Oh no.
I mean, I'm with you there.
No,
But I don't know. Competition reveals all. There's nowhere to hide behind a status quo in this, I think, the way it's set up.
Fact check on Braun. So Risner and Brandel shared the field in week 14, week 18.
You're not going to read me a PFF grade right now. I know you're not going to
do it.
PFF
Do
grade.
it.
I'm going to give you a stat. Is a stat acceptable, Luke?
Is it what, like pressures?
Acceptable.
Risner allowed 1 pressure against Vegas. Brandel allowed 3. And against Detroit, week 18, they both allowed 4. Both kind of sucked.
Oh, my God.
That's well, there you have it.
You're going to read
you don't even need to show up to training
PFF
camp.
grade?
There you have it.
Yeah.
No,
how do you
give us the
measure
PFF
offensive
grades.
linemen?
No, give us the
Competition's
PFF
over.
grades. No, I don't trust Luke's eyes. Give me PFF grades.
All right. Risner 61.9 and 56 respectively in those 2 games.
This is Vegas and Detroit.
Yep, Vegas and Detroit. So remember what I said, 61.9 and 56.
Yep.
That's not good.
Then 52.7
Ooh.
and 53.6. So that would be
2-0
for Risner. Ooh.
Now I feel more confident.
That actually makes Luke feel better, to be honest. So, I mean,
yeah.
But
we're going to debate Justin Jefferson and Anthony Edwards. Buckle up. That's next on the Minnesota Football Party. Brought to you by Gametime. I'm going to the Wolves tonight. I'm the Grim Reaper. Teams usually get eliminated when I show up. I'm sorry about that, but I saw such a good deal at Gametime that I could not resist. They've got priority last-minute deals, 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, and theater. Zone deals. Save more when you choose a section. Let Gametime choose the seats. They make getting to the NBA Finals faster and easier. So if the Wolves find their way there, you can use Gametime to get great last-minute deals, prices going down before the opening tip. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA Finals tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONNFL, LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, topical debate here. Anthony Edwards, Justin Jefferson. Who's more popular now locally? Who is more popular now nationally? And what will the answers be in like 3 years? Like 2027.
I mean, in the moment, right now,
feels so
as we
seasonal,
sit here, it's like prisoner of the moment kind of thing, right? What have you done for me lately? World we're in, right? We're in the Western Conference playoffs right now, and it's the talk of the town. And this state specifically is completely enthralled with what the Timberwolves have done to this point and are, continuing to do. Not to mention too the things Anthony Edwards has done, has accomplished this year. Some of the highlight dunks and plays he's made in the playoffs lately, the past few games specifically.
Some of the post-game pressers.
The post-game pressers are almost the best part, almost at this point now, too. Calling out Bite and Mike Conley for wearing clown pants and everything else. I think if you were to do a poll right now, as we sit here today, like Arif mentioned, I think it'd be close to 50-50, but I think Ant would squeak them out. Not by much, but I think Ant would win that poll right now. But then again, you run the exact same poll week 8 of the NFL season when JJ's coming off a 12 and 180 and 2 touchdowns against a division opponent. I think JJ probably wins that one. So ebbs and flows right now, though, it's probably Ant.
Yeah, I will say if you compare the two of them at what their respective peaks would be throughout the year, I would imagine Jefferson comes out on top. I mean, football is king, even in Minnesota.
Right.
I say even, especially in Minnesota. I don't know.
Minnesota, basketball town.
Right. like, I mean, the last time I went to a city that had a football team where the football team wasn't king, it was St. Louis, and they lost their football team. It's just generally you should probably assume that the most popular football player is likely to be more popular than the most popular basketball player. And in this case, like obviously both of them are incredibly charismatic. Kids love them. They're both very marketable. Justin Jefferson, I guess, is a little bit less of a liability off the field, so I guess that helps. But for the most part, I would say Jefferson is going to pull in more endorsements because over the course of a full year, Jefferson's going to get more press, going to get more popularity. But at the moment, it's Ant.
I think, and I completely agree. To your point, though, from like a national level, global level, you get outside this just local market right now that we're enthralled with the Timberwolves because our team is in the Western Conference playoff. The popularity, as you kind of pointed out, of the NFL compared to the NBA nationwide, globally, worldwide, whatever, on top of the things JJ has already accomplished, you know, the accolades, the Pro Bowls, 99 rating in Madden. It sounds like a joke. I'm kind of half serious, though. The one-handed catch in Buffalo, all that stuff, I think nationwide and globally, I think JJ is going to win that more times than not. Not to say that Ant isn't transcendent. Like, he's on the right trajectory.
He's on a bit of a JJ arc right now.
He is.
Where we're going to see.
He is.
Unless
is he going to be in Fortnite? That's important.
Did they come in the league at the same time? Did they get drafted the same year?
No, I think Ant is younger, right?
Yeah,
4 years, both of them, right?
Oh, that's
4
a good
years
question.
each.
But I'm really excited to see now after this, whatever happens with the Wolves, unless they actually do win it all, you're going to see, you can just copy paste your weird Justin Jefferson tweets about trading him because you're going to get such a big haul. And you're just going to see the exact same takes. That's how you know he's really a superstar is you start to see Rubish takes about trading him because like flyover country doesn't deserve him or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's crazy too, by the way, I was just thinking about this at the time. Anthony Edwards, you talk about both these guys being drafted the same year. Anthony Edwards was not this consensus slam dunk sprint to the podium number one overall pick. It was him or LaMelo at the time, and that was a lot of back and forth. Can you imagine looking back after the whole Steph Curry fiasco and Johnny Flynn and Ricky Rubio, all that, if they passed on Ant and what he was doing right now too? I mean, we don't need to go down that road today, but I'm just saying it wasn't a slam dunk pick as it feels right now.
Right. There was a lot of talk about that leading up. I definitely remember that too. Wolves, when they get the number one pick, they typically deliver. They figure that out. They get that right. 3 years from now, I think it could be Ant. I mean, and Luke, you used the word globally.
Jefferson will be a Bengal by then. So,
well, this is also a factor. Maybe not.
Trade's coming. Listen to Kay Adams,
Florio, anonymous bots,
Charlie Walters. He's been banging the drum for years.
What's JPA football? What's Dove Kleiman saying?
We don't know if that's the real. We don't know if that's the real Dove Kleiman anymore.
It's just a string of ones and zeros. It's weird.
Masquerading.
It's just the binary code out here.
Because the shelf life for an NBA player, NBA star, might be a little longer than a star in the NFL. I mean, if you get 8 to 10 years with one team out of an NFL star, I think that's a pretty good run. Harrison Smith's the outlier. You're not getting that very often.
Right.
I think the NBA stars tend to be a little more married to their market, and that means Ant joined the Vikings or the Timberwolves when he was 19 or 18. I think it was 19. And they could have him until he's in his 30s. We're talking like a 10 to 14 year, 15-year run. Mm-hmm. Looking way down the road, obviously.
Receivers age pretty well. I don't know, but I think football players maybe generally, get out of football pretty quickly, but good receivers tend to age pretty well. Like they past 30. So that is not as big a concern for me. Now, when you said globally, I thought you were making this point about how basketball tends to be just a much more global sport. Obviously, with everyone making like these Michael Jordan comparisons to Ant, you can then also make the like marketing comparison, which obviously is not going to hit the same notes as Michael Jordan from a marketing perspective. But Michael Jordan was a global star. Randy Moss was not, right? So you could make that argument, but I think like in Minnesota long term, I think it's probably Jefferson. Obviously, if the Timberwolves like win it all, that'll probably change things. But for the most part, yeah. Because Zank just said in the chat, the best receiver in history really fell off a cliff once he turned 42.
It's true.
Genuine question here, just real quick. Genuine question, because when I brought up globally and I think about the last decade of NFL football with all the European games, London, all that, I just assumed the popularity of the NFL reached broader scales globally. But you're telling me maybe NBA is actually okay. Really? Okay. I legitimately did not know that.
This is a good example. The two best defenders in the NBA are French, which is its own weird,
good point.
Kind of ironic. But the reason that works is because they were playing in FIBA, right? And FIBA is a relatively competitive league. There are European gridiron football leagues, and they are not relatively competitive. There's been one draft pick. It was Moritz, a 6th round pick. Great. But
never made a team.
But
great YouTube highlights, though. I just want to point.
But the best international football players that did not play college football are probably playing rugby. The best international basketball players are playing basketball. It is just a more popular global sport.
Yeah, nope, that makes sense.
What's the deal? What's the deal with basketball contracts?
What's
the
deal with basketball contracts?
At what point is Anthony Edwards going to get paid a lot of money? Because that's when people are going to turn on him.
The max contracts, everybody's underpaid in the NBA, so you don't got to worry about that.
Okay, so it's not like if he gets a max contract, it's not people are not going to be like, oh no, now he's getting paid a lot and weirdly get mad at him.
Fine. And then there's supermax contracts if you sign with the same team that you were just
that
with,
could be a point in Ant's column then, because Jefferson's going to get paid a whole bunch of money, and people are going to get really angry about that because they already are. If you look at my YouTube comments, people are like, "Don't pay him; he's a wide receiver," which is insane to me.
It's crazy,
but okay. As if that is not a really valuable position.
Yeah. But okay, that's a good point because NFL salaries are much more zero sum, that you're going to lose something for signing somebody, whereas in the NBA my intuition is that really isn't the case.
You don't run into cap problems the Timberwolves are in one, I guess, but you don't because in the NFL you've got your cap 3 years away. You might be facing a cap crisis where guys have to take pay cuts and stars have to get cut loose. Adam Thielen, for instance. NBA, you just have to be compliant or you pay a massive tax. Teams are generally not going to run into that where it's we can't afford, we have to cut someone loose. We got to cut Ant. Probably not the case.
Tax. Baseball, where you just are like, well, I'll pay the fine. And
NBA is a much harder cap, but I see your point.
Yeah, I think the tax in the NBA is punitive, whereas in baseball the tax is just it's just part of the game.
Soft cap.
It's just the Yankees just pay it. That's
yeah. You're just no.
Ron Johnson's going to have some great takes on this. I think let's have him weigh in. He joins us at 3 Ron Johnson, host of the Ron Johnson Show. Ron, Justin Jefferson versus Anthony Edwards in terms of current popularity. Is it a big lead for Jefferson? Is it a tie? Does Edwards edge him out? Where are you at with that debate? He's finishing.
Goodness gracious. Are we really doing this on an audio
Great
medium?
content? Fantastic.
ASMR.
I'm doing my Dan Orlovsky. I don't know if you guys seen that.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Eats difficult conversations for breakfast.
Why don't you pull a Will Levis and put some mayo in that coffee real quick while we're at it?
Oh yeah, be very specific about pulling a Will Levis.
Oh man! Oh, I was out of town for a while. Not that long.
I will not be pulling any Will Levises at anything. I don't want the mayo on bananas in my coffee.
In a way, both of them could result in mayo sponsorships, I suppose.
Oh,
wow!
All right.
All right. Why? Hey,
Wait, so that was too far, but Ron wasn't. All right, I see how it is.
Yeah, you can tell a dirty joke, not a pun.
Wow.
Yeah, that's too far.
But no, Justin Jefferson, Anthony Edwards, popularity, it's gonna go Anthony Edwards right now. I just think Anthony Edwards right now is captivated because Justin Jefferson, and I say this a lot too, and Justin Jefferson has to be careful of this. if he pulls a Stephon Diggs, just look at the Stephon Diggs narrative and where that went. Look at the Tyreek Hill narrative and where that went. You know, like a lot of these receivers now are, not to say losing fans, but they're not getting the same following they did with their original team. Like Tyreek Hill as a Chief, they loved him. Tyreek Hill as a Dolphin has 10 kids in 2 years. So it's just, it's so different with how they view these players now. And, you know, same with Stephon Diggs. You know, he was a Vikings. Everybody loved him. Went to the Bills. He was so-so. They liked him. And now a Houston Texan. You know, like it's like, where does this go? And so I think right now Anthony Edwards, under contract, being a Timberwolf, possibly can get to a game 6 if he has a big night tonight, just nationally. But in Minnesota for sure, I think Anthony Edwards, you know, to bring your ass and all the other little stuff he's doing, the press conferences, it's his show right now.
Yeah, I wish I could go back in time and kind of live in the year 2000 or 2003 for a minute and just kind of feel the pulse of Kevin Garnett versus Randy Moss and what that felt like, and how this compares. Because I would venture to say that Moss was maybe a tad more electric, tad more popular, not much.
Well, better teams too, more successful teams, and anytime you're winning more games. I know KG had that one run, maybe 2 runs if you want to call it that. You know, Western Conference playoffs, got bit by the Lakers, everything else. But Moss's teams, for the most part, with Culpepper, and he had a better surrounding too, right? For the most part, with Chris Carter and Robert Smith and everybody else, they were winning more games. I feel like. So I'm agreeing with you, Sam. I think Moss probably had a slight edge there.
I look at it where nationally, so you have to go with the national perspective. Kevin Garnett was, not say just another basketball player, but he was just another basketball player. He was Minnesota great, but he was kind of just another guy in the league because of, and it goes to team success. Randy Moss, they created a verb because of what he was.
Good point. Also, are you with us, Ron?
We lost Ron, but David Kahn in the chat brings up a good point that because of China alone,
pay the fines and the money and the straight cash, homie. Like Randy Moss just had it, and that's like straight cash, homie. It's kind of like bring your ass, you know, like it had the same type of gravitational pull for the whole world, not just Minnesota. And again, Justin Jefferson captivated us for a while with the gritty, and then the gritty became watered down because, you know, his guy wants to get famous off of it. And he's out here trying to create new gritties that are weird. And so it's just not like the gritty is not what it used to be when at first it was like, whoa. And now it's like, all right, can we do something like the Monopoly gritty? Put that away. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah, that like weird video.
Was that the dice roll? Was that what the Monopoly gritty was?
It was shooting dice in the casino, gambling in a hallway.
You got to call it Monopoly.
Yeah. But he called it the Monopoly gritty.
Like, it's very obvious that the dice represent.
Nobody shoots Monopoly like this. You know, like people are cheating, grabbing the dice, trying to throw them to get them so they can land on boardwalk. Like, no, nobody's sitting over there in the corner, hunched over, throwing it on the ground like that. Like Monopoly is on a table. We're sitting down. We're very well mannered in that, and we're just tossing across the table. It's a totally different function.
Yeah. Spinman, what do you got for Ron Johnson today?
Yeah, more Vikings Wolves here. When you look at both these rosters and everything that goes into it, really from like a team construction standpoint. So salary cap stuff, the Ant JJ debate we just talked about, maybe the young guys on the rise, all that. Who's got the better core and nucleus, has a better chance at you know, more long-term success to be competitive for longer? I don't want to ask you who's got a better chance at winning a championship, because I think until we know the JJ quarterback situation, we're just going to lean on the Wolves. But who's got a better chance to be, you know, competitive in a top tier for longer?
The Timberwolves. Basketball only takes 2 guys. That's the thing about basketball compared to football. Football, you could have the best receiver in the world. You can have one of the best quarterbacks in the world, but you still have to have other parts. Like the Patriots, when they went undefeated, they still didn't win a championship, but they were dominant. Why? Tom Brady, and they had a really good defense, and they put running backs in there that worked every year. Belichick was never going to pay top money every year for a running back. He just kept putting in newer, younger guys. And then they would always go get them a tight end, whether it was, you know, Hernandez or Gronk or whoever. They were going to try to make sure it worked. It's the same thing in basketball. You don't need all those guys for that. And that's why when you look at the Chiefs, for instance, you know, they've locked down their core, but then they keep adding, defensive pieces. They keep you got to do so much in football. Where in basketball, you just got to have two guys. Everybody's looking for a duo. You talk about the Mavs. Kyrie's getting older, but he still looks great. But you look at Luka and him, they could be good for a while. It really just takes two. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Chet. It just takes two. And so that's what the Timberwolves have. They have Karl-Anthony Towns. They have Anthony Edwards right now under contract for a while. I think they have a better core because it only takes two.
So you're more excited about the Wolves' future and the trajectory they're on than the Vikings right now, just sitting here today.
Yeah, because we don't know what we don't need to know what the Wolves' future is because we see it. We don't know what the Vikings' future looks like. If somebody were to tell you, you have to bet your house on who has a better season next year, the Wolves or the Vikings, there's no doubt you're going to pick the Wolves. And so that's what I look at. We have no idea what the Vikings are going to look like. It could be led by Andy Dalton. It could be led by JJ McCarthy. A couple years from now, JJ McCarthy could be, the next Trey Lance. We just really don't know. It sounds great when you draft these guys, Daniel Jones. He should just wear a ski mask around the facility because he robbed the Giants. But when you think about that pick, they were willing to bet the house on him. And now look at it. It's we got Daniel Jones under contract for that much, and so a lot of times coaches are or GMs in the front office, they're very reactionary. Again, I go back to the Stephon Diggs contract and the Adam Thielen contracts. Those were emotional reactionary contracts, and the Vikings, after doing them, they're like, oh man, how do we ask for money back? It's too late now. You did it. You could have gave them both less money and they both would have been happy. But when you give one, the other one's going to want some too to keep him happy because he feels like he's just as good. I don't think basketball, you have that issue.
Mm-hmm.
Ron, what do you got?
Following up on that. What else do the Vikings need to do? And I'm talking big picture, long term, to have that a sense of clarity for that future, whether it's something they do next offseason or whatever.
MC Hammer said at one time, you got to pray. You got to pray just to make it today.
Is it just waiting to see what we have in JJ McCarthy and then that gives the clarity, or is there
honestly, yes,
because you're waiting on?
Yeah, because Andy Dalton is not the future. We know that he's a stopgap. If JJ McCarthy, Sam Darnold.
Well, Andy Dalton too, though.
Probably not the future of the Vikings.
Fair, both fair,
decent.
But Sam Darnold, when you look at what they could be with JJ McCarthy, it could be a Patrick Mahomes situation. It could be, even Jordan Love. I got to give him credit. It could be a Jordan Love situation. Or, we've seen some bad, rookies drafted. They come in and they try to take over. The funniest, think about the Drake May, and they went and got the kid from Florida State, the Patriot situation. The Florida State kid might end up being better than Drake May. How do you handle that?
Jordan Travis? Yeah.
Jordan Travis. And then you look at, Garoppolo. He was there. They didn't want to, they was like, I don't know if we want to hold on long enough, which they're dumb. Now looking back on it, I bet Belichick's like, dang it, I should have just held him to a little bit longer and got rid of Brady before he got rid of me. And then you would have had a guy to kind of take you into the future of the program. I think Garoppolo would have been just fine as a Patriot, for the coming years, taking over for Tom Brady because everything was set. But then when you get rid of him, now you're just getting a bunch of backups to hope one day one of these guys could be the guy. And they went with Mac Jones. So we know what we know now. And yeah, you just don't know. And that's the only answer when it comes to these quarterbacks and making picks. You really just don't know, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And we've seen all the social media videos of JJ McCarthy throws in practice, and here's all the throws. There's no rushers, there's no uniform. There's no pads there. Yeah, he looks great right now. What is it going to look like in training camp and then in that first preseason game? Now, again, if he comes out in preseason and lights it up, we might have some optimism. If he comes out there and who knows what he looks like? It's going to be interesting. But again, Aaron Jones being the running back here, I don't know how long he would be here, but maybe this becomes a hardball type of looking team. And maybe that's why this whole Justin Jefferson thing is slowing down, because they're like, look, we might want to run the ball more with this quarterback that we drafted. Who knows?
Arif.
So I looked it up. It's Joe Milton, not Jordan Travis, with the
Joe Milton from Tennessee.
Somebody said Florida State, and I thought Jordan Travis right away.
Yeah, I was thinking Florida State, but he was from Tennessee. Right. I knew it was SEC. His ACC was Florida State, but Tennessee, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, the Vikings just signed Dalton Risner. It seems like they're pretty confident with Blake Brandel at like left guard. What are your thoughts on that offensive line situation? What the Vikings should do with the two of them, with Dan Feeney? What are the odds that like a 6th-round pick like Michael Juergens has the ability to actually compete year one? Like, what do you think is going to happen with that interior offensive line?
Well, I mean, I think they're going to go back to what they had last year. I think it's going to look exactly like that's the reason for signing, Dalton Risner. They still have Ed Ingram. I really think they're going to run it back. Like when you look at where they were with Kirk Cousins healthy, I think that's the thought process right now of the team and Kevin O'Connell. Like there's no reason to sign. And again, some people pose some great questions. Why didn't anybody sign Risner to a long-term contract? He's going to have to show and prove it. Prove that we can give you 3 more years in this offense because we do have a rookie quarterback. So maybe we can, because again, that's kind of the formula everybody's looking at. If you get a rookie quarterback like Brock Purdy, you can go out and get yourself and pay for weapons for a couple of years until you have to then blow it all up like the Chiefs had to do. They were able to get a lot of production out of a rookie Pat Mahomes or a under rookie contract Patrick Mahomes. And then it was time to start blowing it up because they had to start getting rid of guys and bringing guys in. And then they went out and got the Fast and Furious team and they won a Super Bowl. And now those guys are all getting arrested. And Fast and Furious is being broken up. But when you look at that, having JJ McCarthy does give you the ability to maybe sign Risner to 2 or 3 more years, in the middle of the season, even here's an extension or let's do this. And then, we'll give you a longer term deal because we got to sign Justin Jefferson. I think everything has a rhyme and a reason to it. I think maybe they wanted to show not the world, but Risner and his team. Like, there's not a lot of teams that want you. Nobody's really going to give you a future. Maybe we will, but can we just sign you to a 1-year deal now just to get you in the building and then we can figure it out down the road? I think right now it's going to look like what it looked like last year. I think that's their plan is to go back with the same exact guys.
Ron, I think the players and the Chiefs were just inspired by that fan that kept robbing banks. I think that's what ended up happening.
What God-fearing American?
They were auditioning to be as getaway drivers.
That's going to be a movie. That's going to be a movie someday, guaranteed.
Ron's hosting the roundtable tomorrow with Carol Evans, Reggie Wilson, and Julia Daniels. They'll be talking heavy Wolves game 5, hopefully a win. In closing, Ron, give us a score tonight. Wolves Mavs.
Ooh, Wolves Mavs. I'm gonna go similar to what it was. I'm gonna go 107. I think at home they're gonna show a little bit more lockdown defense. So 107-97.
And Ant scores 80 with KG in the crowd. Is that
has anybody tracked his plane? Like, is it here in Minnesota? Has he been over? Like, has he gone over to like JD Hoyt's or is Paul Pierce with them? Because if Paul Pierce with them, watch out, people. Especially Deja Vu. Keep an eye on him because he is a loose cannon. But no, I'd say Ant he has to go for 40 again. Like, it has to be another big night for him. Everybody's talking about Ant was aggressive offensively. And I think that's the key to this team. He can't worry about guarding Kyrie. I think the guarding Luka was the key. I said that from the start. I don't know why they even tried that. I get it, but no, don't do it. Luka can't move fast, so put him on somebody like that. Luka, even on defense, just wants to stand around half the time. When you watch some of these clips now, they're showing Luka on defense, which is smart. He's saving his energy. Like, I don't think people realize that. He's not healthy. And he's saving his energy and conserving his energy on defense so that he can go attack you on offense. I think they have to treat him the same way with Anthony Edwards. Let's conserve as much as we can with you on defense, and then let's let you go attack on offense because you're an unstoppable force.
Ron, thanks so much. At 3 Ron Johnson on X, host of the Ron Johnson Show and the Roundtable tomorrow. Ron, good stuff as usual.
I'm not going to lie to my yogurt is the same yogurt as Dan Orlovsky. I actually had it with the granola. And I was like, I'm not going to eat the yogurt on because when I saw him eat the yogurt, it looks very weird. It does not look right. He looked very disheveled and like he had just woke up from a nap or something. So I was like, I'm not going to do that. But I did have the granola because I was like, oh, this is
a little parfait.
Because it's going to pull it. But I did not know we would end up with Will Levis from Dan Orlovsky. That went left really fast.
That one left quick.
Somebody should have called Omaha. Got to change that.
Yeah, I gotta hit one of these. Yeah, we're not gonna have that. Thanks, Ron.
Appreciate
it. In closing, we comp the 2024 Vikings to 2011. That's next. All right, welcome back. 4 minutes. We're going to talk about the 2024 Vikings who have a bridge and a rookie QB. I want you to tell me if you find any similarity between 2011, when they had a bridge, McNabb, and a rookie, Christian Ponder, or 2014, when they had a bridge, Matt Castle, and a rookie, Teddy Bridgewater. Now, for reference, Teddy Bridgewater took over due to injury in week 3. Christian Ponder took over due to ineffectiveness and terribleness late in week 6.
Couple worm burners, yep.
Those teams both had rookie coaches as well.
Mm-hmm.
Any comps, any similarity between the way you view this team and the way you view those teams?
None.
Not a lot.
The reason those teams had rookie coaches is because the previous year the team was very bad.
Right.
And that got the head coach fired. And while I wouldn't argue that this Vikings team is remarkable, they're not playoff favorites for a reason. They're certainly not as bad as the 2010 or 2013 teams were heading into this season, right? So I think that there's a lot more talent on the field. There's no equivalent to Justin Jefferson. The closest might have been Percy, which, I mean, I love Percy, but let's be real. There's no equivalent. Like, the offensive line is the best.
Peterson.
AP and Percy.
Wide receiver.
AP and Percy, yeah.
Again, that's actually Adrian Peterson's a pretty good point. Rudolph is not
young Rudy.
Well,
2014, I see what you're saying.
But look, Rudolph is fine. That's what he's fine. Hawkinson's better, right? And you'll get him for half the year. But yeah, the offensive line is the best it's been since 2009. I don't know, man. I don't see a ton of comparisons here just because they have like this bridge quarterback situation. Now, obviously, having a good quarterback would maximize what's happening on this team, and they don't have that, just like they didn't in 2011 or in 2014. But I just feel like this team is closer to competing and less likely to have to make an emergency change at quarterback.
We don't have time to fully bake this conversation. I just think the 2011 Vikings defense is such an underachieving group, like with who they had, because they finished 31st.
Still had Jared, right?
It would be like if they did this in
Henderson.
2022, I think, because you would still have like Kendricks in the building and you know Hunter in the building.
Winfield was
like,
there.
It's just a different group of people now.
Griffin, when he was not who he eventually would become, but Griffin was in the building too. Robinson was in the building.
Before Griffin.
That secondary was pretty ratty, though.
Like
That was not a good
rotational Everson Griffin.
Who were the safeties there? Who were the safeties outside?
Was that like Jamarca Sanford?
Yes,
they had Jamarca. They had
Raymond,
Hussein Abdullah, Mistrail Raymond. Yep. It's Mistrail,
Blue,
not
Mistrail Raymond.
Raymond. We're
number 41.
Let's pick this up next week. We're also doing Luke Braun Wings Challenge, June 10th. Mark your calendars. Hot Wings, June 10th. Luke Braun is going to melt. Luke Inman, Luke Braun, Arif Hasan. I'm Sam Ekstrom. Big thanks to Ron Johnson. Big thanks to those that watch live and on the Locked On Vikings podcast feed. Thanks so much. Talk to you next time.